This is Bedtime Stories, Grown-Up Edition, Love and War, Bonus Episode 3, Part 1. Don't judge me, I'm finally doing something with that bird's nest that I call hair, and you already know, there'll be a video. When we left off, the Queen Mother was holding a meeting, and she was managing it something like the round table meetings. Jeff was under fire, and Donovan had blown the meeting off to spend time with Melissa. And she'd shown that while she certainly loves God and is called according to his purpose, she is still a teenage girl, which means she's petty as hell. And I'm here for it. Meanwhile, LJ is the topic of discussion in two different places. Regina's at home. She's taking the day off from work, and she's scheduled an emergency appointment with Dr. Miranda Lopez. They have a well-established doctor-patient relationship as a result of what Regina endured when she'd been kidnapped, back when that whole situation with the Newports happened. And she's trying to convince Miranda that she should be able to force her husband to go through the rigmaroles of chemo and radiation again. And Miranda just finished saying, Regina, this is the part where I caution you that the last thing you want to do is spend the last of LJ's days. Regina said, don't say that. Miranda said, we are all born dying. Regina said, you sound just like him. Miranda said, because in that, he's right. None of us know how many days we have left. You could walk out into the street, be hit by a car, and the family could be holding your funeral in a few days. So let me rephrase that. The last thing you want to do is waste the precious time that we all have arguing with the man you love about how he gets to live or die. A wise man once said, we don't get to control the way that the people we love live, and we don't get to control how they die either. Mr. Andy may have been leaving that message for his son Q, but that was a word we can all use. Your husband isn't giving up without a fight. He's fighting for his life. He's also fighting to remain the man that you fell in love with and the man that you married while he still has breath in his body. And over at Angela and Q's, Angela just finished saying, Regina called off from work today, and she's at liberty to do that because she's not my employee. But I'm concerned about whatever's going on between them two. I was pretty sure that LJ wasn't cheating, but Q said, I can't speak for that man, but I know him, and so do you. He not cheating on Regina. Angela said, well, things happen, and sometimes people grow apart, and Q said, look at me. Marriage is hard, but that's not a thing that just happens. Men who love and respect. Angela said there are a lot of men who love and respect their wives, who have found themselves in positions. Q said, I wasn't done. Men who love and respect themselves don't cheat on their wives. I never told you this, but when that whole situation went down with Pops Andy and the Queen Mother, Pops sat me, LJ, Woody, and Wise down, and he was the most vulnerable I'd ever seen him. I think that he knew then that he wasn't going to be here much longer. And he said some words that I'll never forget, and I don't think those men will either. He said the true measure of a man is in the size of the smile on his wife's face. And no matter what's happened, no matter what she's done, when you look at her, you do whatever you have to do to see the woman you fell in love with and to show her the man she fell in love with. And the minute that you find you can't do that, you take it to God. Then you take it to a pastor, a therapist, or another man who measures his worth the same way that you do. But you never, ever take it to another woman. And if that's too tall of a feat, then you're not the man for her. And you need to step out the way and let a real man have her. If you can't see her with another man, then you need to be the man she needs. Angela said, that's deep. Q said, my father's been gone for over 2 years, and I've been spending it measuring myself by the size of your smile. Angela said, oh. Q said, and LJ's been doing the same. I know, because we've talked about it quite a few times. Whatever's going on, Regina's going to talk to you about it, and you need to do what you do. Angela said, pray and encourage her. Q said, exactly. And when we get to Miami, I'm going to sit LJ down, and I'll find out what's going on. And I may not be able to update you. Angela said, do you think Selima's going to ruin this? Q said, oh, she's going to try her best. You know she's the queen of self-sabotage. But Wise got her. Angela said, Fred said he'll be here in a few hours, right? Q said yes. Angela said, well, when Donovan brings Melissa back, do you plan on having a conversation with him? Q said, nah. That man's got to learn to tie his own camel. Meanwhile, over at the estate, the meeting has just wrapped up. Selima, Stephanie, and True are heading back to Selima's apartment to continue their conversation about the women's relationship issues. And Manny's having a one-on-one with Jeff. And Nigel is bearing witness. Manny said, two things need to happen. You need to sit down with Donovan and have a discussion. No matter whose son you are, there can't be enmity between you and him. And you need to let whatever feelings you have for my daughter go. She's not a pass around. She won't continue whatever this is in the St. James family that makes you all want one another's women. Jeff said, last time I checked, she wasn't anybody's woman. Manny said, that's besides the point. She cannot be your woman. You are literally in training to replace Nigel. My daughter won't be with a kingpin. And not just because I say so, because that's not what she desires for herself. By your own account, whatever you two shared was brief, and it wasn't all that serious. I understand how you can have feelings for her. She's my daughter. She's smart and beautiful. But you can find another woman. And Nigel said, you're going to have to, because you need a wife to be the kingpin. Manny said, maybe you consider being more serious with this college friend of yours. Or maybe you be patient and wait for God to send you a wife. But know that he did not send you Maribel. And so that it's all on the table, God will never send you another man's woman. She may be single now, but that's just a formality. God gave Donovan Maribel's heart, and Donovan never gave it back. Then Manny ended the conversation by calling Donovan on his cell phone and handing it to Jeff. When Donovan answered, Jeff said, Donovan, I owe you an apology, and I'd like to sit down and have a conversation with you. Hopefully we can hash some things out. Donovan said, nigga, why you calling me on Manny's phone? Jeff said, I don't have your phone number. And Manny insisted that I call you now. Donovan said, put him on the phone. When Manny got on the phone, Donovan said, the hell you doing? Manny said, I'm trying to help you do what's right. And I'm trying to help Jeff figure out how to move on. We don't need another Bella and Gera situation. Schedule a meeting with him before Miami. Manny handed Jeff the phone back, and Jeff said, when you finish with your other woman, are you available to meet today? Donovan said, I guess making assumptions runs in the family. I never said anything about a woman. Don't call me. I'll call you. Then Donovan hung up on Jeff. Jeff handed Manny his cell phone back and said, now, I know I wasn't the only one who heard that man say that he was spending time with another woman. And Manny said, you heard wrong. Donovan's got a heart the size of Mount Rushmore. Jeff said, I can't tell. Manny said, that's because you're not paying attention and you don't listen well either. He didn't say he was with another woman. He said there was another young lady who he needed to spend time with. I know Donovan. He wasn't talking about a woman. Then Jeff said, well, who was he talking about? Manny said, that's not your business. Your business is getting prepared to take over the St. James family and finding you another woman. Meanwhile, at Donovan's, he and Melissa are having the time of their lives. He's still on the piano, but now he's practicing the songs that he's going to play and sing for Wise's surprise. And Melissa's practicing her part of the surprise. Shortly after hanging up with Jeff, Donovan texts Manny, got Jeff's number, and then he texts Jeff and told him to meet him at a local restaurant at 5 p.m. sharp. When he turned back to Melissa, she said, Jeff isn't going to be around much longer, is he? Be careful, Uncle D. And at Corey's, he's on the phone with Stephanie, having a conversation that they've had way too many times. Corey said, Stephanie, you cannot come to my house and see baby Carrie. First of all, she's not at my house. She's with the grandmothers. Stephanie said, so why I can't go see her there? Corey said, we've been over this. You can't be where my child rests her head. You don't know who has eyes on you, and they don't need to know where we live. Stephanie said, well, bring her back to the estate then. Corey said, and that's really not gonna happen. Yesterday was an exception, but you can't have your visitation there. You can't have it in Dallas at all. Stephanie said, well, how about you meet me at the Queen Mother's cabin? It's several hours drive away. If either of us were being tailed, we would know it. We're both professionals. Corey said, now that's the first thing that you said that made sense. What time you want to meet? Stephanie said, whatever time's good for you. And in the background, True said to Salima, I guess we going to New York without her. Then True went into action, putting the plans in place to run down the leads that she'd gathered from the interrogation of Jeff, starting with the college friend that he was banging out the night before. One Darlene Portia Capital. It was pouring down raining when she came and when she left the estate. So while she was captured on camera, her face was blocked by the umbrella she was carrying. But she definitely had the build and the gait of the woman who'd attacked Maribel. And while it didn't really seem likely, True was leaving no stone unturned. When Maribel ended things with Jeff, he briefly started up a fling with a nurse at the hospital too. He'd admitted that was just to see how Maribel would respond. But when he abruptly ended things with her, the nurse was none too pleased. She would know how to use a scalpel. She also matched the build of the woman who'd attacked Maribel in that shower. When Stephanie got off the phone, she said, okay, ladies, I gotta pack and go. Y'all let me know what y'all work out with this whole Wise situation. And True, keep me posted on Maribel's attacker. True said, all right, girl, go get your man. Stephanie said, I will. I'm about to go pack. Salima said, pack? I thought you was going to spend time with your daughter for a couple of hours at the cabin. Stephanie said, oh, no, girl. I'm going to make sure that we all get stuck at the cabin. And True said, well, make sure y'all get unstuck in enough time so that we can get to Miami, because you know we got that meeting at the underground. Salima said, I still don't even know what that meeting is about. Did Uncle Manny explain? Stephanie said, girl, he been a little busy. I'm sure he'll explain it all when we get there. And then she left the room. Then Salima said, listen, True, I thought about what you said, and I might be overreacting, but I need to know what's up. And I need this man to know that he can't play with me. I'm not for play. In this life, I'm the only one who can have secrets. And those secrets are only going to be about the job. I usually keep niggas at arm's length, ride them hard and put them up wet. But this is more than hard D and bubble gum. I got my heart in this, and the pressure is on for me to get married. And I'm way too invested in this damn relationship. And if it don't work out, I can't risk getting my heart back in shreds. If you think I'm a problem now, forget about it. True said, I feel you, but you gotta be easy, Salima. I'm sure that there's a reasonable explanation for why he's been moving a little different. And I just don't want you to ruin it. He's put up with all your shenanigans. Sometimes you hot, sometimes you cold. But if you screw up whatever it is that he got going on for your pops, because you insecure and not willing to accept that when you love somebody, really love somebody, you're giving them the power to obliterate your whole life and trust in them not to. Trust is not knowing all the facts. Therefore, you have no reason to doubt. It's having doubts and believing that the person who you choose to love day in and day out is choosing to love you too. Just like love is an action word, so is trust. Salima said, all right. So, if we pull up on him and he not doing nothing wrong, if I get to the bottom of this and find out that it's not what I think, I promise not to do this again. True said, you ain't got to promise me. You probably gonna have to promise him. And you're gonna have to promise a lot more than that if you walk up in something and it ain't what you think it is. Now, what time you want to leave? In New York, Wise is having a conversation with an unidentified woman. And he said, listen to me. I don't call her big gangster for nothing. No matter who get in her ear, she not gonna act right. I'm prepared for that. But I need you to be prepared for it too. She'll shoot first and never ask no questions kind of woman. This can't turn into a triple homicide, you feel me? The woman said, I got you. You always did like your women a little rough. I guess we got that in common. Now come and give me some love. A few hours later, Salima and True pulled up outside a 5-star restaurant in Tribeca. Salima said, oh, this nigga got a lot of damn nerve. He done brought this broad To my favorite restaurant? True said, Selima said, oh, you ain't saying it's not what I think now, huh? When Selima and True landed in New York, they hit a safe house, showered, and got dressed. When Selima came down in a sweatsuit and a pair of Timbs, True said, nigga, we not about to go fight at the projects? Drew said that when he saw Wise, he was dressed like he was going to a business meeting or something. Selima said, well, I'm not going to a business meeting. True said, right. But if he goes someplace that we need to get into, we not getting in with you dressed like you about to commit a murder. Selima said, damn, girl, I ain't even thinking straight. I'll be right back. Then Selima went upstairs and came back down dressed to the nines. She said, because I can put my murder game down in Timbs or stilettos. You better ask about me. True said, dear God, help me. This is going to be a long night. Then Selima got the phone call from Drew that Wise had pulled up in a chauffeured car, and he and a beautiful woman had gotten out of the car and went in. Selima said, and whatever this is, the nigga had to be planning it, because you need reservations, and it takes weeks to get a reservation here. True surreptitiously hit the voice memo button on her cell phone and then said, all right, Selima, don't go in hot. And then she hit send. The two women got out of the car and sashayed they fine behinds into the restaurant. Selima breezed right past the hostess stand. The poor hostess said, ma'am, wait, what? True said, don't do it. She on one. And Selima walked up to the table where Wise was sitting with not one but two women. And Selima was so turned up that she didn't even take the time to really look at the women. She was beelined on her man. She said, nigga, I wish upon 1,000 stars in this solar system or the next. You play on my top and play with my time. When she went to reach in her waistline, Wise jumped up and grabbed her and said, come with me, protesting the entire way. Wise pushed her to the women's restroom. He banged on the door and said, anybody in here? And when a woman responded, he opened the door and said, out, now. The scared little white woman skedaddled out of that bathroom so quick. Wise pulled Selima in and said, what the hell are you doing? And why are you doing it here? Selima said, no, what the hell are you doing? And who the hell is these broads? Wise said, my mother and my sister. Selima said, what? No, it's not. Wise said, yes, it is. At some point, you're going to have to trust me and you're going to have to get some self-control. I'm your man, Selima, but I'm a man. You're not going to keep pulling up on me and doing ridiculous mess like this. You just made a scene in this restaurant, embarrassed me in front of my mother and my sister. You keep talking about what a nigga not going to do. Well, you ain't going to have a nigga much longer if you keep this kind of stuff up. Now take your fine crazy behind out there, apologize and sit down. Selima said, I'm sorry. Please don't be mad. I'll make it up to you. Then Selima turned and locked the bathroom door. Wise said, not now, big gangster. Selima said, but you mad at me. And I don't like when you mad at me. Then she slid her skirt up and let him see that she was wearing a garter and she ain't had no panties on.
But I can't front, I love it. It kinda turn me on when it does it. Every time you act a fool out in public, shit, you make me wanna say fuck it. Then I do, it's a mood. Fuck around and have us in the news. Win or lose, guess it's true. I can't stay mad at